Yo, what's up guys, and welcome to a new roster series of mine. Basically this is the first one we're doing in NHL 18, so this series is going to be a Stanley Cup Finals rematch series where I make two teams from anywhere in NHL history that were in like a Stanley Cup Finals together, and we see if there's a different or similar outcome with like who wins the cup and that sort of thing. Also, it's a good idea for Cup Finals with controversy, and that ties into our first Stanley Cup Finals, which we are doing the 1999 Buffalo Sabres versus the 1999 Dallas Stars. So the only reason there is some controversy with this is because Brett Hull scored the Stanley Cup winning goal in overtime, but it looked like he was in the crease, which was not allowed back in those days. If you scored while you were in the crease, the goal was disallowed right away, but this goal was not disallowed. So Buffalo fans do not like this Stanley Cup Finals because of that. They were 2 games away from winning the Stanley Cup as they fell to Dallas in 6 games. So that's a little intro to that. So if you guys want to see another Stanley Cup Finals from anywhere in history, so if you want to see like the 1996 1996 Florida Panthers take on the 1996 Colorado Avalanche. If you'd like to see the 2005-06 Carolina Hurricanes take on the Edmonton Oilers, if you'd like to see the 2010 Bruins face the Canucks again, anything like that, just let me know down below in the comments and I will try and make up another roster. But the episodes will be once every 2 to 3 weeks because it takes a long time to make the rosters and do a little bit of research on the teams for myself. So we're going to show you guys first the jerseys I made for the teams, because I actually had to make the team jerseys and stuff like that. The reason being is because if I was to assign, say, like Mike Modano to the Dallas Stars, like the actual Dallas Stars in this, he would not be able to wear number 9 because it's now a retired number, well, his retired number. So I wanted everybody to have their exact numbers and that sort of thing, so that is why. So let's go to, I'll show you the details first. So as you can see, they're playing in the HSBC Arena, and for some reason now I can't actually put a number in the team name. I used to be able to do that in NHL 17, so now it just says Buffalo Sabres, but in the abbreviation I made it say BU99 so we know what year it is from and stuff like that. So I guess I could show you the logos and branding as well. So we got this main logo, which I used the old color scheme, so you got black, red, and white, and as well as like a gray a bit. And we got this for the shoulder patch, and that's the only 2 logos I used. Team uniforms, the arena looks pretty nice as well. Here is the team uniform. The only thing I don't like is how you can see where the last name is supposed to go. That's actually supposed to be in the black area on the actual jersey, but you can't do that with this one, so it looks kind of weird just being all white. Maybe I change it to black eventually, but that's the home jersey, because back in the 90s the home jersey was the white jersey, and then the away jersey is the black one, which would have been the home one back in like 2003. So it's basically the exact same stuff I made in my NHL 2004 rosters and NHL 17, and then I did not give them an alternate because they didn't have an alternate that year. I might as well show you the created mascot I did for them as well, which is just a giant buffalo with a jersey. It says 1999 just because of the year, and I named him Saber. So yeah, and then the arena just looks like that. So I'm not going to go into detail with that sort of stuff. I'm going to go more in detail when I show you guys the lines for both teams. Now we'll make our way over to the Dallas Stars. Okay guys, so now we're here with the Dallas Stars. So Dallas's arena looks like that, and as you can see, ST99 for Stars 99. Their arena back in those days was the Reunion Arena. It actually got taken down, I think, a couple years after that, like in the early 2000s. I don't even know for sure, but I just know it was like demolished, and that's why they now play at like the American Airlines Center, I think it's called. So there's that. Logos and branding, basically for their logos, I had both of them set to these, like their current jersey logo, which had the D in the center. I had to actually just make that all green in the center because they don't actually have the old logo with the word Dallas above it and just a simple star. which kind of sucks, so I had to use that again. And then also this is their shoulder logo, which is from NHL 3s, I think. It's a Texas outline, and it has a star actually on it, which is kind of cool too. So I made that kind of look like the normal shoulder patch they had. Team colors green, red, and white. I don't know if the green color is the actual green color, but it's close enough, I find. So, and then onto the team uniform. Here's their home jersey. It was a different jersey than they normally had. I also decided to put some stars on the pants just to make it look more stars-like. Looks pretty nice. Here is their away jersey. It's an all black version of it. I like it as well, but it's kind of weird seeing a Dallas Stars team with a black jersey, but that's what their away jersey looked like back in those days. And then their alternate jersey was their jersey that they actually had back in like 2003 and stuff like that as their home jersey. They had a reversed one as their away, but that's what their home or alternate jersey looked like. They wore it, I think, a couple times in the or mostly when they were in the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't know for sure. Okay, and final thing I want to show you guys with this is the mascot. So I made it kind of like a Lone Ranger kind of guy. Yeah, I called him Lone Ranger 99 just because I didn't know what else to make him like, so I thought I'd throw that in as well. So now let's flip on over to the Buffalo Sabres lineup. Okay guys, so here is the lineup for the 1999 Buffalo Sabres. So I actually took these lines straight out of a video that I found on YouTube of Game 1. They actually showed the lineup, so I decided to use it for the starting lineup. However, the power play lines are kind of like my guess on some of them. So we got Dixon Ward, who is a right wing grinder, but he played on the left side with Michael Pekka, who is a very good defensive player, so we put him as a two-way forward. Valsov Rada, he's a bit of a power forward because of his weight. I don't know if he actually was in real life, but he also played for my Ottawa Senators back in 2005-06, I think it was. And then second line, you got Jeff Sanderson, who I think almost scored as much goals as he assisted on. He was a pretty good sniper. I think he had a couple 30-goal seasons with Columbus in the early 2000s. I'm not 100% sure how he did during this regular season with Buffalo because I didn't write that stuff down. But second line, we got Curtis Brown, who apparently was a pretty underrated defensive forward. He scored a couple big goals, I think, for Buffalo in the playoffs, but once again, not 100% sure with that. And then we got Miroslav Shatan, who was really young in the Stanley Cup Finals. He actually scored, I think, more goals than he assisted on. This guy was just a pure sniper, so he didn't pass the puck a lot, but he just shot some good goals. And yeah, I think he led the team in points during the regular season as well, if I remember correctly. Third line, we got Joe Juneau, who's a bit of a vet on the team, 31 years of age. Brian Holzinger, who's in the middle, like in his prime, kind of more of a defensive guy slash grinder. Doesn't really do much except for fight and defend, I guess. He doesn't score a lot. So, and then you got Eric Rasmussen, who I put as a power forward as well, even though I don't know for sure. 6'1", 210. He was more of a bottom six guy as well. Played for New Jersey most recently in like 2007, I think. Then you got Michael Grosek. This guy actually had like a couple 20-goal seasons and stuff like that, but nobody really knows about him. Then we got Stu Barnes, who had the most goals on the Buffalo Sabres in the Stanley Cup Finals when they lost. He had 3 goals in those 6 games. A pretty good defensive player as well. Then we also got Wayne Primo, who is the brother of Keith Primo. Wayne Primo, my bad. He did not score more than 10 goals in a season. He was that bad, so I made him a grinder, 6'3", 230. He got into a lot of fights, I think, as well, so he's more of just a bottom 6 guy, or a bottom 3 line, I should say. Defensively, though, you got Alexei Zhitnik, who was probably the best defenseman they had on their team. A Russian defender. He had not a lot of size, but his weight was pretty good, 5'11", 204. Then we also got Richard Schmelik, who actually played pretty solid in the playoffs as well. He had 3 assists in that Stanley Cup Finals alone, even though he wasn't really much of a producer in his career. Then you got Jason Bully, who was actually an underrated defenseman as well, because he had like 300-something points in his career over like 700 games. He actually had the game-winning goal in game number 1 for Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken. Then you got James Patrick, who's a bit of a veteran. He's 35 in the Stanley Cup Finals, but he actually played I think for another like 5 years or so. Like I think he retired in like 2003 or 04, so he might have played till he was like 40 or so, which not a lot of players do nowadays. And then you got Jay McKee. Jay McKee was actually a really good defensive person in the lineup. He was really young in the Stanley Cup Finals, 21, but he was a very good defender. Does not actually take a lot of penalties either. Like I think he never took more than 200 penalty minutes in his career, and that's over like 800 games. So he's a pretty good defenseman and really poised, or whatever you want to call it. And then we got Rhett Warner, who actually also went to the Stanley Cup Finals 2 other times. He went to the Stanley Cup Finals in the Florida and Colorado Stanley Cup Finals in 95-96, and then he actually went to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2003-04 with Calgary. But all 3 times he was on the losing side of the Stanley Cup. I don't think he ever actually ended up winning the cup. And then in goal, you got Dominic Hasek, who obviously was the best goaltender in the world at that time, almost, except for maybe Patrick Waugh or Martin Brodeur. Arguably, Hasek is the best goaltender alive, because he's just put up like less than a 2 goals against average in his career, I think. He was the main reason Buffalo got this far anyways. And in the backup, you got Dwayne Rolson, who was just getting into the NHL as a 28-year-old. Didn't have that much games during this playoffs span. I don't think he played anything in the Stanley Cup Finals. I think he only played like 4 games total in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Hasek played the rest of them. So that is that. And then scratch, we have nobody, because I decided not to make any depth guys for Buffalo. So now let's flip on over to the Dallas Stars. Okay, here we are with the Dallas Stars lineup. So we got Yuri Letnin, who is a very good defensive forward. I think the year before this, he won the Selke Trophy, and then he won it again this year. He was a very good defensive forward. He took some penalties, but he was actually kind of underrated as well, because I think he had close to 500 career points, or maybe a bit more than that, but nobody really knows about him because everybody else thinks about Mike Modano. So we got also Mike Modano at the center role, 89 overall. I could have made him a lot higher than that. However, I just didn't. His stats are already really good, so I decided just to leave it at an 89. He could have been easily like a 92 or something like that, but we'll leave him as an 89 just for now. Obviously, very good player, and he wasn't actually the captain that year. Some people forget that. He was only the captain for 2 seasons, and that was 2002-03 and 03-04, I think. Or maybe it was 05-06 and 06-07, and then after that, Brendan Morrow took over. Then you got Brett Hull on the right side, obviously a very good shooter, good skater. I put him as an 88. He was actually pretty old in the Stanley Cup Finals, 34, but he still played for another like 6 years, 7 years. And retired with the Arizona Coyotes, Phoenix Coyotes back in those days. So, second line, you got Pat Verbeek. Wait, actually, Pat Verbeek's not supposed to be there. I don't know why he was up there. I think it changed my lines a bit. Yeah, so second line, we got Dave Reed, who was another old veteran kind of guy. More of a defensive player as well. I think he was also a solid offensive producer, but I can't remember. Joe Newendike, everybody knows about him. He was 32 in the Stanley Cup Finals. Came over from Calgary multiple years before this. I don't even remember what year he came over from Calgary, but he is the second line center. Then you got Jamie Langenbrunner. Jamie Langenbrunner was a power forward kind of. He did fight a couple times, I think, but he also he was a good sniper too. So I have him having good shooting stats and some good physical, good skating. I think I remember him mostly as a good skater. So, third line, you got Pat Verbeek, who was... Wait, was Pat Verbeek on this idea? I think so. I don't even know, but whatever. Mike Keane, we'll start off with. Mike Keane actually was the one that got Dallas to the Stanley Cup Finals, I think, because he had 2 goals in Game 7 against the Colorado Avalanche to eliminate them and get on to that Stanley Cup Finals. Then you got Guy Carbonneau, who's a very good defensive player. I don't know why I have him as a playmaker. I should have put him as a 2-way forward, but whatever. So, Guy Carbonneau, he was 38 during the Stanley Cup Finals. He only played for Dallas and Montreal, I think, in his career, if I'm not mistaken. And Pat Verbeek, this guy had almost 3,000 penalty minutes in just over 1,000 games played, but he also put up like, I think close to 1,000 career points. Like he had like 700 points or something like that. So this guy, like, he could score, but he also was a little bit of an asshole on the ice and hitting people and getting penalties, fighting. So that's Pat Verbeek. And then the fourth line, you got Blake Sloan. This guy's nobody important really. He barely played any NHL games. Didn't really put up much NHL points either. I think he retired in 03-04 as like a 28-year-old or something. Then you got Brian Skrudland, who also went to the Stanley Cup Finals with the Florida Panthers in 95-96, also pretty old, 35. And then you got Jonathan Sim, who was in Game 1. He only played Game 1, I think, of the Stanley Cup Finals. He wasn't that great of a player either, a grinder as well. Defensively, Darian Hatcher is on the top defensive pairing. Wow, I changed up the lines, I think. But whatever, Darian Hatcher with Richard Matvichuk. Darian Hatcher was the captain back in those days. He was the captain actually both times they went to the Stanley Cup Finals. I put him as an 85, mostly physical and the defensive defenseman. Didn't score a whole lot, but he was also, just like I said, as you can see with his height and his weight, 6'5", 225, pretty big guy. Then Richard Matvichuk was more of a defensive player. I think he was on the penalty kill. He blocked a lot of shots, I think, and that sort of thing. His weight also is pretty good, so he's a pretty good checker. Second line, you got Daryl Sador, who was a really high up pick. He won the Stanley Cup twice, I think it was, once with Pittsburgh as well. So you got Daryl Sador, you got Sergei Zubov, who is an offensive defenseman. A lot of people don't realize how underrated Zubov was. He had close to 800 points in just over 1,000 games. Like, you could say most of it was coming from when he played with Pittsburgh with Yager and Lemieux and stuff like that, but he was a very good player. Then you got Sean Chambers, kind of a defensive player as well, played for New Jersey too. And then Craig Ludwig, this guy was very old, 38 I think actually, maybe 37. Mostly a defensive player, but he had one goal in that Stanley Cup Finals. And then onto goalies, we got Ed Belfour, obviously a very good goaltender, Eddie the Eagle, and Roman Turk as the backup. Now onto the scratch player, I only made Benoit Hogue. He will come in, well, probably in the lineup for the next game after the first game, because Johnson only played the first one, but Benoit Hogue was actually a pretty good player with Buffalo and I think a couple other teams. Okay, so now that we showed you guys the roster, let's go into a 7-game Stanley Cup Finals sim. If it goes to a third period where a team could win it, we'll watch the entire third period together, and then that'll be it for this first video. It might be a bit long, but we'll see how this runs for the first episode and then maybe adjust it accordingly. So, okay guys, so we got it all set up here. So we got the Dallas Stars and the Buffalo Sabres going back at it for the Stanley Cup. Dallas looking to keep that cup and Buffalo looking to steal it from them here in 1999. I don't even know if I could edit the lines, so we'll just leave the lines the same. So let's go into game number 1 at the Reunion Center in Dallas, see who could take game 1. We're going to do a fast sim for the first 2 periods and a slow sim for the last period. So after 1, Brett Hull with this opening goal, making a statement as he had the OT winner to win the Stanley Cup in the series actually. So 12-5 shots in favor of Dallas, and Dallas has got the lead. Second period, and it's 2-0 Dallas. Mike Medano getting a nice shot from the face-off dot almost. And Buffalo's now actually out shooting Dallas 20-19. So Dallas has just got to keep on playing good defensively. Ed Belfour is on a tear so far. Also, when the team has a chance to win the Stanley Cup, we'll be able to see the new Stanley Cup celebration. I never saw it until a couple days ago when I was doing practice sims for this, because I wanted to get it ready for you guys. So, okay, and the Dallas Stars are going to take game 1 2-0, and the shots were 26-26. So in real life, I think Buffalo took game 1 3-2 or something in overtime. But yeah, so Dallas takes game 1 this time. So Hull from Ludwig and Lettinen, and Medano from Hull and Lettinen. So that first line getting it done for the Dallas Stars. 3 stars: Ed Belfour, Brett Hull, and Mike Medano. Okay, so not a bad first game of the Stanley Cup Finals. Maybe we'll have an accurate simulation of this, or maybe Buffalo will come through and win a Stanley Cup. So maybe we could rewrite history, or maybe we can't. So game number 2, still in the Reunion Center. Let's see what happens. First period, and once again the Dallas Stars have the lead after 1, but this time they were being outshot 12-4, yet they still managed to get that first one as Joe Nieuwendyk gets one from a pretty bad angle and beats Dominic Hasek. So second period, and still Buffalo's gone 5 periods almost, 5 periods without a goal, as Sean Chambers gets a shot from the point, and it is 2-0 Dallas once again after 2 periods. They're getting outshot 23-14, but once again Ed Belfour is just lights out so far, except for not anymore as Erik Rasmussen pulls Buffalo within 1 here late in the third. Not the type of guy I'd expect to score for Buffalo, but whatever. Power play for Buffalo and they don't score. Oh, and there's a big goal from the alternate captain. I almost said the captain, Mike Modano. And it is a 3-1 lead for the Dallas Stars. And oh, late goal from Dixon Ward, but that's not going to do it. So Mike Modano with the game winner here in game number 2 as Dallas takes it 3-2. 35 shots to 22 though in favor of Buffalo, as Dixon Ward's goal was a bit late. If Mike Modano hadn't scored, then that would have been an overtime game. So Nieuwendyk from Hull and Zubov, Chambers from Lettinen and Modano from Hull and Lettinen. So yeah, that first line is clicking really nicely for the Dallas Stars. So Ed Belfour once again gets first star, Modano gets second star, and Brett Hull gets the third star. I think Brett Hull actually missed game 5, if I'm not mistaken, with an injury. I don't know what type of injury it was, but he missed game 5. So I think that's when somebody like Johnson might have played 2 games in the Stanley Cup Finals. If I'm, oh, I might if I'm not mistaken, but yeah, I assume so. So anyways, game 3 back in Buffalo in the HSBC Arena. Buffalo looking to get back in the series. First period, and it's a 1-1. So Buffalo actually strikes first in this game. Erik Rasmussen makes it 1-0, and then John Sim. What the hell? How does John Sim score? He's like a 75 75 overall, and it's a 1-1 game after 1. Shots are 12-9 in favor of the Sabres. Second period, and it's still 1-1. So once again, we have a bit of a defensive game. Shots are 22-20 in favor of Buffalo. Can Buffalo get it done here in the third and claw back into the series, or is Dallas going to take a commanding 3-0 series lead? Power play for Dallas, and they score. Yuri Lettinen. It seems like that power play unit's doing good as well, which does not surprise me considering they have some great talent on that power play. And Zubov with a late goal as well. So Buffalo's fallen into a 3-game shell, and they need to win 4 straight in order to beat the Dallas Stars, who look like they're going to repeat history, I should say. So Sim from Zubov and Sloan, Lettinen from Langenbrunner and Hatcher, and Zubov from Brett Hull. So looks like I think Ed Belfour is going to take the Conn Smythe if they win the cup. So Ed Belfour gets first star again, Zubov second star, and Rasmussen the third star. So let's see if they can get it done here in Buffalo. If not, they have a chance to win it on home ice. Let's see if they get it done in Buffalo like they actually did in real life. So first period, it's scoreless. Shots are 10-10. Second period, and we have a 1-1 game. So we're going to intervene and watch the third period for this game. I'm going to make sure it's set down to like 3 minutes time or something if I can. Yeah, we'll have it CPU versus CPU, and yeah, and the actual jersey that Dallas wore during that would have been this. There you go. And yeah, I don't want obviously the period length to be 20 minutes, so I'll get that down. Not quick settings. Rules. I think it's that, right? No, it's not rules. Oh my god. Game settings, that's what I wanted. So I'll change this down to 3-minute periods. That way it goes really quickly because we don't have time to watch a 20-minute period, unfortunately. So let's start up the game. And we got the Dallas's point of view, which is nice too. Okay, my damn. Sorry if you hear my cats upstairs. They've been fighting a lot. Come on, Hull walks in, shoots, and a big save by Hashik. Here you go. Let's see what happens. Letnin. Oh, this is the first line that's been getting most of the offense in this series. Back to Hatcher. Matvichuk. They're cycling the puck really well. Langenbrunner. Oh, nice try. Tries to go 5-hole on Hashik, but it doesn't help. Oh my god, that almost was a horrible mistake. Ed Verada carries it in for Buffalo. Verada shoots, big save, loose puck, and Belfour is going to freeze it. Patrick passes the puck, but misplays it. Keane, Verbeek shoots, big save by Hashik. Carbonneau back to Verbeek as they maintain position here. And Zubov, Sidor back to Zubov, nice passing. Verbeek back to Zubov again, shoots, and just misses. In his own zone, passes it to Sidor, up to Keane. Mike Keane, does he have another? Oh wow, he does. Mike Keane, who got 2 goals to eliminate the the Colorado Avalanche in Game 7 in the conference finals, finds a way to give the Dallas Stars the lead here in Game 4. Nice little wrister, beats Dominic Hasek. In real life, I don't think that would have went in. Hasek would have easily gotten that. Rasmussen finds Barnes, nice pass. Joe Juno walks in, big save by Belfour. Series, Joe Juno carries it in, making some moves, finds McKee and Rasmussen, and Warner back to Rasmussen. There's good passing here from Buffalo. They need to get a shot though. They're running a bit out of time. Here's McKee with a blast, and it's deflected, but a big save by Belfour. Joe Newendike won the Conn Smythe. Schmelik with a shot, and another big save from Ed Belfour, and he's going to freeze it here defensively. Playing against, who was it? Number 22, a loose puck, and Groshek nearly knocked that in as the 4th line, or 3rd line. Might be the 4th line, I don't even know. I think it's the 3rd line out there for the Sabres. Woolley carries it in, Groshek. He's got the puck, throws it back to the point. Holzinger, Patrick, Primo, everybody on the team is touching the puck. They got to get some shots as they're in the last minute of the game. And Buffalo's pulled their goaltender here as Dallas looking to get that one to knock off the Sabres. Buffalo walking in with it. Primo back to Woolley, Patrick, and they don't get it through. Bad pass from Chambers, and they score. Buffalo has tied it up in the last minute. With 30.1 seconds, we might be going to an overtime here. Just like what we did in real life, but that would have been in Game 6. As a Wayne Primo, the guy that I said doesn't score a lot, manages to score somehow. It's just a bad turnover by Sean Chambers. Right over to whoever that was, and then he finds it over to Primo, and Primo has gotten the game tied up here. Stars here late, but it looks like it is going to an overtime here in game number 4. And we're back at it with overtime number 1. Let's see if the Sabres could upset Dallas and it could go to a game 5, or is Dallas going to win the Stanley Cup here in overtime like they did in real life. Rada back to Ward up front, and a big block from Mike Medano there. That probably would have went in. Here's Lettinen over there to Hull, and he just misses with that crazy one-timer. It's going to be taken out by Sanderson. Sanderson tries to pull off a deke, and that's not a good thing to do here in overtime. Here comes Dave Reed with the puck. The 34-year-old gets slashed, and Dallas is going to the power play, but great pass out front and a big save. Dano, Zubov, Lettinen, Hull, and I don't know who else. Zubov shoots, he scores, and the Dallas Stars have repeated history. So I'm going to let you guys watch the celebration, and I'll see you guys at the end of the Okay guys, so for some reason, I don't know why they assigned Mike McDaniel back as captain. I think for some reason my roster kind of got reset with the lines and all that stuff. But anyways, Sergei Zubov gets the Stanley Cup winning goal, and the DAL Stars repeat history, but this time in a 4-game sweep. As a simple little wrist shot from Zubov ends it, and he ends up getting first star with 2 points. Second star goes to Blake Sloan, I don't know why. Guy that shouldn't have scored, and Wayne Primo, who got the Game 2 overtime for Buffalo. So anyways guys, that's going to do it for our first Stanley Cup Finals rematch series. I hope you guys like this concept, and yeah, let me know who you want to see next down below in the comments. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys next time.